Jason and Avery walk into a bar.
Here we go. Which one's walking out first? We're crawling out.
So this is what I wanted. But yeah, we'll start. And we start with just kind of open dialogue. We're talking about Microsoft. We've got resident experts that I consider to be in Microsoft, both with very extensive backgrounds in Microsoft. Microsoft license consulting has always been kind of core to our business. And we've got NCE season. For those of you that don't know what NCE season is, we'll try to define it here in a second, that are listening. But there's always misunderstanding. There's always misinformation floating around out there. Clients will read something on an article, or they'll read something from Microsoft and not really know what it means, or they'll interpret it, and then they'll go ask a partner, and hopefully the partner knows what it means, or they'll try to give their their interpretation of what it's supposed to be. So I think the biggest one we want to try to address, the first thing, and there's other topics, is this price increase that's coming in 2025. Right, there is a price increase coming. I think what I'd like to ask you guys is, let's clear it up. What products are being affected? When is it going to happen? And then we can kind of in the next topic or the next question try to understand what strategies can be leveraged to avoid the price increase, at least in 2025. Because every year, especially since NCE started, New Commerce Experience started in 2022, there was always something the client could consider doing, or a few things a client could consider doing for cost savings, right? To save themselves a little bit of grief. Because a lot of these changes come when they've already budgeted for the following year, and then the changes come and they're like, oh, crap. Like now I got to go back to the business, ask for more money, or I got to figure out a way to navigate this. So first question, I'll start with Avery Schaller. What products specifically are being affected by the price increase for Microsoft CSP licensing?
Yeah, so there are a couple workloads that are specifically going to be impacted by price increases, more specifically in April 1st of 2025. That is going to be Power BI Pro and Premium per user licenses, as well as Microsoft Teams Phones licenses are going to be impacted by specific price increases. Outside of that, there's obviously the price increases that we're going to have to worry about with OneDrive. That is, relatively new around unassigned licenses, and Microsoft is going to start charging folks or organizations for OneDrive storage that no longer has a OneDrive license associated with it, especially if it's been deprovisioned or archived or something of that nature. And in a more overarching perspective, the big thing that's going to hit a lot of people, again, not necessarily, starting this year, again, April 1st, 2025, annual commit monthly pay licenses are going to be subject to a 5% surcharge. So,
okay.
And that's the big thing I think a lot of people are going to have to worry about.
So what I think I heard you say is there's specific products.
Yes.
There's specific products within the plan, like OneDrive, that are going to be impacted depending on how it's being utilized.
Yes, sort of. Let me clarify that on the OneDrive thing. It's specifically if people or organizations within a tenant, if you had a user that was utilizing OneDrive storage, they offload, or that user no longer has, or that identity no longer has a OneDrive license associated to it, and that OneDrive storage is an archive state. So basically, you're trying to keep a hold of it for compliance reasons, something like that. Previously, Microsoft wasn't charging organizations to store that archived OneDrive data.
Yeah.
It's going to start, impacting folks. It's charged, I think it's 5 cents a gigabyte-ish.
Okay.
So depending upon if you have lots of users that have offloaded and lots of OneDrive storage, it's a hidden charge that people are going to start seeing.
Okay. Got it. And then you mentioned overarching. So we're talking about all seat-based licensing for like Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365.
Yes.
If they're on an annual agreement with monthly payments, right, through their CSP provider or with Microsoft Direct as well?
Yes, across the board.
Okay. Jason, you want to expand on that a little bit? Just the overarching piece, the M365 piece.
Yeah, I think what we know about Microsoft is there's continuous changes, and where do we find the information? So you bring up one point, and I think it starts even before is let's do a Google search and see what the results are. And, hey, there's no hallucinations with what we're getting there. The newer change coming up in April is going to be that 5% premium when you go from the annual paid monthly currently versus doing an annual prepaid licensing. So that's one of the changes, as well as, you have Copilot 365 licenses now, which are available under that annual paid monthly option, still charged at that 5% premium. So I consider it across the board as being an additional one when you look at it.
Yeah. So you great segue right into the next question I was going to kind of raise. But there's still those three different ways. And that's really what new commerce experience was. The way I try to explain it to clients when I'm talking to them is CSP is still CSP. There's still the license program that is CSP. NCE, or new commerce experience, is nested in CSP, right? It is the how do I pay for it part.
Mm-hmm.
And there's three ways, right? There's the annual prepay, there's an annual agreement with monthly payments, and then they can pay that 20% premium for month to month. Now, is the 20% premium going to change?
No.
For month to month? No. So really getting into the strategy question, and this is really, maybe we can talk about annual prepay. Is this something that should now be considered? When we think about the strategies in 22 with the release of NCE, what are clients going to do to avoid the price increase in 2025 for this 5% surcharge we keep hearing about? For me, it's about when does the subscription renew?
Mm-hmm.
They might already be in position to save that money to avoid it.
Or at least avoid it in 25.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's also clients out there that are kind of might be in a painful relationship with their existing CSP provider. Maybe the support experience isn't what they want it to be, or there's other value that's not being delivered by that partner. How do they navigate out of that and avoid that 5% surcharge if possible? So a couple loaded questions there.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely worth considering. I think even when you're looking at going into Microsoft, choosing the right licensing being very important for the organization. And where do you come in? I think it really starts with a strategy and planning of what you're going to accomplish within the organization that could drive other business initiatives. And part of it is having the option now where Microsoft allows for a CSP to CSP transfer, so that if there's an underlying agreement, an underlying contract, all of that remains the same. It's seamless on the client side of what they see. It's more of a billing transfer that requires the agreement with both partners in order to have that option to move forward. That could be an option. The other one is, after we look at April 1st, let's reevaluate and optimize the licensing that's there. When you look at which choice is best for a Microsoft license, that's very important to the organization. Understanding, what the users need for those productivity applications, looking at that from an important aspect. So all of that said, you have over 300,000 other CSP partners out there that can provision a license, provide you a discounting. When the unexpected events occur and the changes within Microsoft happen, do you have somebody that's going to go there and fight the battle with you, or are they going to put you in line and give you a number? That's where I look at what we offer here at MicroAge from a relationship, and we look at partnering with our clients to really help drive their innovation around not only Microsoft licensing, but what other business initiatives can we help with them to strategize and really help them in this digital transformation get to the next phase, whether it's Microsoft productivity AI, additional, obviously what you hear out there, being able to dissect the information that then we are then, and really the relationships are the biggest portion.
Okay, so that was a lot, but I heard a few good things, part of which I will edit.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I was gonna ask, are we going back and editing this in case?
Oh yeah. I knew that
Is
way.
it the rephrase part? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Again, womp womp.
Yeah. We're all gonna look. We're gonna be much better looking, much better sounding. So renew early. Renew prior to April 1st. license optimization is still key, right? I think there are a lot of clients out there that just kind of are maybe they're busy, but they get complacent to the renewal process. They're not mindful of what they actually own, right? They might be over provisioned, overpriced, right?
Yep.
We've figured that out.
I've never run into that before.
Never run into that before. But the license optimization discussion is always. But I think the third one that you really hit on is the value of the partner, right? The value of the partner, both from a support standpoint, hey, sometimes we got to deal with Microsoft standpoint, and they're a titan, right? And can be difficult to deal with. So, you want us on your side for that. But there's also, and I think what you really hit on, Jason, is there's a lot of innovative stuff that's coming out in the world of Microsoft, and the business objectives, understanding the business objectives piece to that, and actually partnering with somebody that understands the new technology that's coming out is extremely valuable. So there's still a lot of heavy focus on the quality of the partner as opposed to the transaction of the agreement. Do you agree?
Rick, 100%. I think when we look at, and that goes back to as you're evaluating a particular partner in the area of expertise, and not only that, how are they evolving? How are they bringing additional value to the relationship rather than, hey, here's your invoice for the month? And that's where I would look at us as a deciphering factor in how we continually look to add additional services and value to our clients.
Okay, so we'll jump over to Teams. We'll jump over to Microsoft Teams. And this is something that's been around for a little while, right? They made the license changes last year. But if you're a Microsoft customer and you're considering subscription renewal, new subscription, partner transition, right? These all impact the strategy around how to provision Teams licensing. Am I right? Has anything changed there?
Yeah, and just to back up, just to clarify, because there may be some here that don't know why Microsoft did it, is it was due to an EU regulation. Instead of forcing that across all of the worldwide regions, Microsoft decided to just decouple Teams when it comes to enterprise subscriptions at this point. So the way it stands today, if you're a Microsoft enterprise client using E3, E5, that's where you'll be affected by that Teams unbundling. This doesn't affect the business plans at this point.
Okay.
And only commercial sector. So this, while going into effect, it doesn't affect your current subscription with Microsoft. So if you have a Microsoft 365 E5, E3 subscription today and have Teams included, you can continue with that at this point in time. Well, we know Microsoft never changes, so in the future that could possibly change. But right now, you're not affected, so you don't have to worry about it. And even if you're making a CSP to CSP transfer, those underlying agreements also transfer accordingly. So there's ways to, and if you're looking at upgrading, you can still upgrade with that Teams on top of it.
So we got E3, E5 only in the commercial space, nonprofit, government, not impacted yet.
So anything that is enterprise. So again, Microsoft, great at lots of things. Naming conventions, not one of them. And there's often a lot of confusion about that. So when we talk about enterprise licenses, there's the O365 E3 licenses and M365 E3. And within Office 365, there's E1, E3, E5, Microsoft 365, E3, and E5. Those are all what we classify as enterprise licenses.
Okay.
Those are what's impacted by the team separation.
Okay. So if a client has an existing subscription and they have enterprise licenses that have not been decoupled and they want to renew that subscription, does it stay that way now?
Yes. For now. Microsoft, again, as Jason said, will they change their minds? They've been known to change their minds on the way they operate time to time.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, they can continue acting and working with the licenses and subscriptions.
So if I'm a Microsoft customer and I have a CSP subscription with a partner and I love that partner, I probably don't want to leave that partner mainly for that reason. Even if there's another partner out there that says, hey, we're cheaper. You say, well, I beg to differ because again, if I renew the subscription with my partner, I don't have to deal with and there's a cost impact to this decoupling, right? We can get to that in a second.
And yeah, you're bringing up a very interesting subject in CSP world right now, which is Microsoft introducing the capability for partner-to-partner CSP transfers for 365 subscriptions.
Okay.
Which is, it's a whole thing. in and of itself. And it's brand new. And I think a lot of the kinks are still being, fundamentally worked out because Microsoft really sprung this on partners without a lot of pre-planning foresight or a lot of explanation. And so I think the last several months, most partners have been trying to get a grip on what exactly that means along the CSP transfer process.
And Jason, do you want to explain it? Because again, let's talk about there's two different things that are happening here. You can renew a subscription with your partner. You can renew a subscription with another partner. We'll get back to the teams topic and the cost implications of that in a second. And then there's hey, I don't want to renew my subscription. I just want to move it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. And that option is now available. Am I correct?
Absolutely correct. Yeah, that's and while the option is available to do the CSP to CSP transfer, there's some concerns to take into account too, because it does also require the partners being able to work together. And as you probably realize, some don't want to lose the business, and so they may be reluctant to approve a transfer request, which then puts the client in a difficult case. Before the CSP to CSP transfer is like preparing for when the contract was up for renewal. Then you schedule provisioning licenses, at the time of the agreement ending. In this case now, and we can do that CSP to CSP transfer. So it is a more seamless process where you don't have to worry about one license is ending and then provisioning the additional licenses, where the request is submitted within the partner center, and then the transferring partner would go in and approve the request to complete it. And then it's just a back-end billing. All the underlying agreements, that is with Microsoft, whether it's the annual commit paid monthly or annual prepaid, those dates remain the same. It's just a back-end transfer for the subscriptions themselves.
Okay, so strategically, if I have Office 365 E3, Teams is included in that, and I don't want to deal with having to break off Teams and pay the extra fee for Teams, thereby just increasing my per user cost.
Mm-hmm.
I can do a partner transfer if I want to transition from that partner. Do the partner transfer and then renew the subscription without any penalty for decoupling Teams at that time.
Technically, yes. Here's the rub. Microsoft has been pretty clear in that they are not getting involved in CSP to CSP transfer disputes. They're basically maintaining the line that the original subscriptions is a contract with the incumbent partner, and Microsoft is not going to force incumbent CSP partner to transfer subscriptions unless they're willing to. The only cases we've seen that happen is in the event of malfeasance, bankruptcy, something of that nature. But the CSP incumbent partner in question has basically zero obligation to accept that transfer unless the customer really holds their feet to the fire over it.
Right.
The receiving CSP really has no place to get involved, unfortunately.
So they can choose to not participate or say
can.
no.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're stuck
And they're
until that
stuck.
renewal
Yes.
date comes up.
And then
Yeah.
it goes back to the de-provisioning current subscriptions,
Right.
re-provisioning new
But
subscriptions.
it exposes them as well, because in that case, unfortunately, we wish everybody would participate and, be willing to help each other out. But in that case, if it's after April 1st and they decide that they still want to move in that case, which I can't quite frankly blame them with a partner relationship like that then they'll have an added cost, because the option there is to purchase, if it's Microsoft Enterprise licensing with the unbundled Teams, because they wouldn't be able to purchase it as a bundled option. And that exposes them to the additional $5.30 to have the Teams Enterprise licenses added on individually.
And to clarify, that's a thing right now. It's not even April 1st. If they want to move a subscription today and the incumbent won't let it go, then yes, they would have to provision a new subscription of not 365 sans Teams, and then buy Teams separately.
So basically, we've got CSP partners out there that are just going to be uncool. Right?
Yeah, that's we've kind of seen that already. I know I've heard that some distributors even are not participating. So some of the larger monolith CSP organizations out there, indirect providers, are not participating in this transfer process. It really is, unfortunately, a case by case process of who the CSP provider is.
Okay, got it there. There's this nudge that I think that the industry is feeling right now, that CSP is becoming this commoditized thing. And we're really trying to message back to clients that, like, guys, you got to rethink this. This is not just a price play. It is really, really important that you find a partner and there's value in the partner, and it's worth the sometimes extra money that you pay for that partner, because they understand the product, they understand how to consult on licensing, and then they have the services arm that's needed. I can't tell you how many times we've talked with a client that says, I want M365 E3 because we're going to deploy Intune and we're going to do it ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we check back with them a year later, and there's a new IT leader because things didn't work out. And this guy's like, we're partially deployed on Intune. We've got these E3 licenses. What do we do? And next thing you know, we're providing it's a consulting services engagement with us, to get them home, right, on that.
I also consider, are you creating a single point of failure? Do you want a team to help you that has continual education and expertise around the best practices to be able to keep up with those changes? I relate it as well. You look at the security. So Security Operations Center, right? While you can hire an administrator to look at different signals, events, and things like that, where does it make sense for nearly the same cost of what you would hire somebody on staff to have then a team to respond at those alerts at 2 a.m. and then can isolate users and devices and take live actions so that you can, quite frankly, go to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning and not let that keep you up at night? It's similar when you're looking at Microsoft and selecting a cloud solution provider. Again, with over 300,000 other providers out there with different discounting and things like that and different levels of support, is where is that partner, when you're selecting them, going to make the difference for your organization? Whether you're small, whether you're large, where do they integrate with you as a partner in helping to create that relationship so that now your success is also our success when we look at with our clients? And how can we keep driving innovation and helping to modernize those environments, bringing in new technology and vetting those out, and also bringing together, quite frankly, the time it takes to understand the changes that are occurring, being able to get on the phone and call and talk to somebody.
Yeah.